Hi. Can you
How
hear
are
me?
you?
I'm good. If you can hear me, or do I need to
Yes,
use my headphones? I just want to know.
I think
All
it's
good?
perfect. Yeah. Lotus birth in 2008 in her home. So, Rivati, would you like to begin with that? Because I think people
Yeah, I
have
just
seen
want to
my
say,
video.
yeah, I want to say hi to Pramit. Pramit is just saying hi. So,
Yeah, Praveen, hi,
yeah,
Praveen.
which is a very lovely story, which is the outcome of you connecting with me, and then how it goes on, and that's really
Actually,
one of the
they
things.
saw the story, my videos. When I did the Lotus Bunny, she was in London. She saw the videos, she saw Asad Yasmin's video as well, and then she decided to go ahead.
I just love how those things connect.
True.
It really reminds us about how life is supposed to be. And we are all connected, and we're all supposed to flow. So, yeah, like you said, in 2008, when I did this, I had never even heard about Lotus Birth, because that is like now almost 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was no social media, all these conversations around birth, around natural birth. It didn't exist actually. So I decided to do the Lotus Birth because I came across that term, Lotus Birth, in a term I came across when I was researching whether should I do a scan or not.
Oh.
So it came by chance. So I was, when I got pregnant, I was 31 years old when I decided to get pregnant. And at that time, it was considered late pregnancy because already my classmates were having their second babies and all that stuff. But I did not, I wanted something in my life was telling me to wait, to understand things more. It was a combination of many reasons. So anyway, when I got pregnant, I thought my desire was I want to have a pregnancy like my grandmother would have. Like, I'm not even thinking about birth. Just, okay, pregnancy, I should do just like my Amachi would have done, because she's my hero. Like, I admire so many things about her. And I was already on a path down the path of natural health. Because my background is journalism. Natural health is a particular focus in my research, in my understanding. By that time, I had already gone into that field. So when I got pregnant, naturally, I was like, okay, I want to have it as my grandmother would have had it. That was part of my life process at the time, returning to traditions, understanding more and all. So that was my intention. And then one day,
Yeah.
okay, we're back. Okay. When I was close to 4.5 months pregnant, my doctor said, okay, there's one scan if you can do. Usually people like to know if there's something wrong with the baby, then we can take a decision. So for that reason. And that is also not compulsory, she told me. But I found myself in a lot of conflict. On one hand, I have this thing where I want to be like what my grandmother experienced. On the other hand, that evening, so much internal conflict happens, when we get when we are challenged. So I was like, do I want to do scan? I don't want to do scan. Then finally, I decided I will do research on safety of scan. And depending on that, I will make my decision. So while I was doing that research, I came across this writing. It was an excerpt from a book of a lady called Janine Parvati Baker. She's a foreign lady. But when I was reading something that she wrote, and sometimes when people write things, it really strikes your heart. They're articulating in the language of your internal self, right? So it was like that, and I kept reading. I saw this term Lotus Birth, started researching, and I was just like, I want to do this because it makes sense to me.
True.
Right? That whole thing, and the whole concept of it just sounded right. Okay, this is how it should be. So then I wanted to have that, and in a way, because I wanted the Lotus Birth is how I ended up having a home birth. So I should say that the desire for Lotus Birth is actually what led me down that path also. So that
And
was
how
my
supportive
reason.
were people in the house? That's the most number of questions that we get. How did you convince people?
I was very lucky. There was nobody else in the house, it's just me and my husband. And my family was going through, there was a family health crisis going on. Like my dad was sick, he was in and out of hospital. So all the focus and attention was there. So I was very fortunate. Like we could decide and we could try it. We did talk to the only place where we had a little bit of conflict, or not conflict, but we had to even talk about it, was to the pediatrician, because I was planning to go and have a birth in the hospital only, right?
Okay.
So when I discussed this with the pediatrician, and he said, no, this is like long. I got a long lecture on why animals don't keep their placenta. I remember I told you this on a phone call, I think. But anyway, I wanted this. I knew that this is what I wanted. And as the time came closer, this is one of the reasons why I also ended up having a home birth.
Awesome. How did your journey with Birth Village begin?
With Birth Village, I've been with them for about 4 years now. So the journey began when many years ago, Priyanka and we were aware of each other. That time there's no social media now, right? So when she starts, the Anusha is echoing, then I'll put on my this thing. Thank you, Divya.
Pramit and Divya are watching some 2 different Instagram accounts. Nice. Thanks for the support. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. This is much better.
And I hope now Anusha is not echoing.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. So so then people actually will, they wrote about when I had the home birth, it came in the newspapers and magazines and all that. Curiosity item, So, and because she had also started, like Birth Village was in Kerala. So I also I was also aware of this. Then once when I went to Ernakulam, I went and met, and we kind of knew each other. And then 4 years ago, when there was the need for it I joined the team. And it's been very, very interesting because they also are supportive of women's choices, women's decisions.
Yeah.
They're very, very committed to the midwifery model, which always puts that mother and the baby in the center of the decision-making process. Yeah.
So, would you like to say anything more about Lotus Berry on a general topic?
Yeah. So there was these things that really appealed to me. Whatever you get, like for the medical benefits for the baby, you actually get it through just delaying the cord clamping. Right? That is there. But the reason I wanted to have all the way to a lotus birth was actually for more, it's for reasons that cannot really be quantified in our current language, in our current scenario. Because I think in the future, we will have, methodology and things to prove that this is actually something good if you want it. So for me, the reasons were more gut feeling and spiritual, right? Because I was reading how in the ancient, on the older traditions, so many cultures had this thing of considering the placenta with honor and respect, being sacred.
Yeah.
And when I was reading that was the first time it even, namukku katti illa nu varu, like it's just like this light bulb going on in my head. And I was like, of course, how could we not consider it that way? Right? So there are things that I came across, like in different cultures. In some cultures, this is called the little mother.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to separate away from this. It's very emotional to actually understand it that way, It's called the little mother. In in Samoan culture, they believe that the placenta, when the baby is born, the placenta is there with 4 guardian spirits.
Oh.
And it is when the placenta detaches that they also leave the baby. It's almost like a caretaking process till the baby is ready to detach. So there seems to be this window of time, right? Because till that placenta detaches also, then the baby's more, you handle the baby more carefully. Everybody's quieter around it. There's a difference. You also will know, right, how you did it. I'm very curious to hear your side of it. So that was very appealing to me at that time. When I was pregnant, it was just like, this is how I want to do it. This is how I want to honor it. It is significant. It is important. And now, in the time since then, I have come to know that, of course, there are so many things about the placenta that we don't know, that we don't understand. And somewhere there was a special significance attached to it in the older culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it is now in our modern times that we don't know how to, and we know in every part of our life, there are many of these spiritual or deeper gaps are there. In the future, we will come to understand it. It's just now we are not talking about it because we don't have the words for it or how to define it and all that. So I believe that the placenta is very, very special.
True. How many days did it take for your baby's placenta to follow?
It took about 4.25 days.
Super.
Around 4 days, yeah.
Okay, I want to tell the viewers, I'm sure you didn't watch my videos, right? Whatever.
I watched 2 of them.
Good. Okay. So
Yeah.
I did cover few. So you did see the third part, which was my notice wedding journey. I want to be this way because how we are going to intersect is going to be this life about. Though you do not know what I had done or probably how it is going to come, this live would actually bring out really what will happen if 2 moms who had done lotus wedding in home and in hospital, both of them are
Different,
pretty
yes.
When
Yes.
13 years back when you did, it was a very new thing that people didn't know. When I said I did it in a hospital, everybody was like, wow, is it even possible now? The people who came right next to us, even they were asking that if this would be possible, getting a lotus birth done
Yeah.
again in a hospital setup.
Yeah.
Because as you know, in Tamil Nadu, it is not that easy at all, and they don't encourage
Yeah.
lotus births. Anusha, still agree? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so without wasting much time, let's quickly jump into the first question. So, what is this placenta? Who does it belong to? Dad, mom, or baby?
So that is a question, that is a very interesting question. Like, who does it belong to? Because it's created by the baby cells. It's the embryo cells. So when that egg and the sperm meet and fertilize, that union itself starts to spark off. Okay, now we need we need to have the conducive environment to thrive. So therefore, it's the embryo cells that actually make the placenta. And the placenta then embeds itself into so this is the wall of your uterus. I have a placenta that I use for my classes. So the placenta, right, with the cord coming out of it, it will embed itself. Like very small few cells, it will embed onto this very rapidly, very aggressively. It goes and latches on, right? And then it starts to grow there. And of course, this grows much faster than the baby. So that by the time the baby is in a certain size, this is already ready to nourish the baby. So the placenta is considered to be the least understood organ in the human species, because the baby can't talk, and what happens is you don't keep it for far too long. There are people who dedicatedly study it, but even they say it's the least understood. And I think it has so many it's a place where the physiology and magic and fertility and desire to live and nourishment and what does it do? It breathes for the baby. It takes out the waste from the baby. Every aspect of living is then encased in this. Right? So it's very hard to define a lot of things about it, but people do study it still, I think. Yeah.
So கேட்ட கேள்வி என்னன்னா, அந்த பிளசண்டா அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து அம்மாவோடதா அப்பாவோடதா குழந்தையோடதா அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு கொஸ்டின். அதுக்கு ரீபா வந்து என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, இன்னமும் இதை பத்தி தனிப்பட்ட முறையில யாரும் பெருசா படிக்கல. அப்படி படிச்சவங்களால கூட இதை பத்தி சொல்ல முடியல. ஏன்னா அது அவ்வளோ ஒரு காம்ப்ளெக்ஸான, ரொம்ப கஷ்டமான இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு உயிர். அதுல இருந்துதான் உயிர் வருது. அது குழந்தையோட செல்லோட இதுல இருந்து போய் சடக்குன்னு அட்டாச் ஆயிடுது அம்மாவோட யூட்ரஸ்ல. அதுல இருந்துதான் அம்மாக்கு குழந்தைக்கு போக வேண்டிய சாப்பாடு, அதுக்கு சுத்தப்படுத்த பிளட், அதோட மூச்சு காத்து எல்லாமே அந்த பிளசண்டா தான். ஸோ அதை பத்தி இன்னும் எவ்வளவு ரிசர்ச் பண்ணாலும் போறல அப்படிங்கிற அளவுக்கு போயிட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ இன்னமும் இப்ப இது குழந்தையோடது அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். We can say it belongs to the baby.
It really belongs to the baby, but my body nurtures this thing that belongs to the baby.
Yeah. என்னோட
I offer up the space for it.
பெரிய அம்மா வந்து சின்ன அம்மா கிட்ட பேபியை ஒப்படைக்கிறாங்க. ஸோ அப்படிதான் இது வந்து நம்ம பார்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயம்.
Yes, exactly. That's why it's the little mother.
Yeah, little mother. Actually, when we did the lotus wedding, my husband used to say this, like pointing me, this mother is a dummy mother. Only the placenta mother is the original mother, because that only took care of the baby till it was born. So he said,
see, That's very important to understand that. That was the medium through which everything was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we used to carry the baby, he used to say, Anusha, the mother of the baby will carry the baby. The mother's mother, I will carry. Because it has, I mean, from what we understood, it has the, pedigree of our families, the placenta. It carries so many things that relates to our grandparents. Everybody's cells are there. It's an embodiment of everybody's cells. So he said, I will take care of this mommy. You take care of that mommy.
That's a very sweet way of approaching it. Yeah. And there's so much stuff we don't understand yet about how is the DNA working in there? Why should it do it like that? Some people have a little bit of bleeding when the implantation happens. Some people don't. But what we do know is that a healthy placenta makes a healthy baby. Just like a healthy mother makes a healthy baby, it's the same thing. If the big mother is healthy, big mother makes the little mother healthy, and the little mother nourishes the baby really well,
True.
Yeah. So that is really the key, to be healthy, and the mother should be healthy, whether it's a little mother or not. And so we do know about the placenta, if we're talking about it in real terms that people can use in their lives, for women who want to get pregnant, who are thinking about conceiving. It's very, very important to be in good health.
True.
Because if you are in good health, that's when your uterus is in good health. That's when the placenta will actually be able to embed well, connect all the way to the arteries just behind, get the nourishment from it. So this is really, really so important. And this another really important thing is how circulation is so important, especially even in early pregnancy. The whole miscarriage, the fear of miscarriage, actually it's because we don't understand this whole concept clearly. A miscarriage happens as part of the body's wisdom. So suppose the placenta has implanted, something is happening. And just like a process where, it's trying to do, did from A, then it went to B, C, D, E, F. And then when it came to G, something didn't work right. So the body is so wise that it sees that if it went all the way to G and it's not working, we should stop it right now. Because for optimal outcome, it doesn't make sense to continue this process.
Okay.
That's usually why that miscarriage is happening. Because if you continue, it's not going to go all the way to optimal outcome. A miscarriage is really at the unfolding of the body's wisdom. And on the other hand, to have a healthy implantation, to have a healthy placenta, you need to actually have a certain amount of movement and circulation in a healthy body. So both are things that women really should understand. How a light exercise or a fair amount of exercise should be a part of your life even before you conceive, so that you are healthy, your metabolism is good, your circulation is good. That impacts how your placenta is going to implant, how it's going to grow. And at the same time, if you do happen to have early miscarriages and problems, it just means that the process was not working correctly. And in its infinite wisdom, the body is saying, this is not a process that I think we should engage in.
Take more time, exercise properly, have a good diet, get into a proper regime, have a good nature-life balance, and then start this process all over again. A lot of my friends are asking me about this. I think that would be the next series of, preconception and what could be going wrong. You gave a good beginning today in this live session on how to start, how to go about it. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I'll do the Tamil version of it a little later after selecting the resources, because I think the live will become very long if we are going to translate everything into Tamil. Yeah, Tamil மக்களே கவலைப்படாதீங்க, உங்களுக்கு நான் இதெல்லாம் மேபி கீழே டெக்ஸ்ட் போடுறேன் தமிழ்ல படிச்சுக்கிறதுக்கு. பட் அவங்க சொல்றது உங்களுக்கு நிறைய புரியும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Riva சொல்றது. Yeah, I think you already answered my second question which I had. What does the placenta do inside the womb? You had already answered that question. Do you have anything more to add?
What does the placenta do?
Do inside the womb.
Can you just repeat?
What does the placenta do?
Inside the womb. The placenta carries the nutrients from the mother's body into the placenta. There's a lot of arteries, and there's a whole network of, if you see picture, there's all these networks. It looks like a hunk of meat after it comes out.
Yeah.
you know, it, and that beautiful tree of life thing that we see a lot of artwork about. It has all of that stuff, and it's getting, so this side of it is attached to the mother's womb, and this is the side that you'll see all the network, the one that has the thing coming, I mean the umbilical cord coming up. So this side takes in nutrition, and it processes, the placenta processes it, and through the umbilical cord it goes into the baby. Whatever waste needs to go back out from the baby's body comes back through the umbilical cord, it goes into the placenta. This is the processing, this is the central processing unit. Taking in, yeah, and throwing out what needs to. So the mother's body is the bigger unit into which it's plugged in. This is that mini, focused, very highly complex processing unit that processes everything inwards and outwards that the baby needs for best to thrive inside the womb. This is why you need a healthy placenta.
True.
Because if the placenta is not healthy, healthy mom makes the healthy mother. The big mother makes the little mother. Yeah.
Completely agree with that. So having said that, now what are the complications that can come the non-functional placenta in the first trimester, and how can it affect the mom and the baby? The complications of
yeah. So one thing is that some research that's coming out shows us that the quality of the placenta can impact the baby for their entire life also. And it can have an impact on mother's body and health also throughout her life.
Oh.
This is really the reason why when you're talking about nutrition and in the preconception stage, it's very important to get healthy, right? Because these are long-term processes. So once you are pregnant and the placenta actually is growing inside you, so for various reasons, mainly nutritional reasons, maybe some can be physical ailments that the mother is going through. In some cases, of course, the mental state that the mother is going through will impact the hormones, and that can also impact how the placenta is forming, how it's staying inside, how welcome is it feeling, right? All these can affect how the placenta is going to be there inside the womb. Then circulation, like we said. Mainly these are the things that affect how is that placenta going to grow, implant, grow, and thrive. So what we do know from research and from data is that a healthy placenta actually occupies a certain size. When the nutrition is lesser, that's when the placenta starts growing over the wall. So if this is the wall of the wall that it's stuck, if it's healthy nutrition, then the placenta will grow to that size.
Okay.
But if the mother's nutrition is compromised, then the placenta will start creeping. It will start growing more and more to attach more onto the wall so that it can take more. From more surface area, it can take in nourishment. Yeah. So after the placenta comes out, you can look at it and you can kind of assess, okay, this mother's nutrition was probably not so good at that phase, at this phase and all that. But while it's inside, you can't really assess this one aspect, I think, that you're saying. Or like, the scans can tell you.
Okay.
But the point is that if you do want this healthy placenta to be there, it's very much about nutrition, state of being, health. So people who have like family health issues, it's a really good idea to detox very well, do, a panchakarma maybe. Lots of things like that actually can actually help you to ensure that, now I'm going to start in a healthy way. So early complications can be if it's not implanting properly, which will actually, then it will let go. It'll try for some time and then it'll let go. That could be one of the reasons for the miscarriage happening throughout the pregnancy. Some people can have if it can manage, it keeps going. Again, it's not optimal, but even without being optimal, it just keeps continuing. So the negative part about that is that then that baby is being compromised in the nutrition that's coming. Right? And it's taking a toll on the mother. So then that placenta is like it's getting bigger and bigger. The mother is obviously not having enough nutrition to actually pass it on to that baby. Baby is being compromised and mother is also getting tired because there's this little mother inside. The little mother only knows that, give me more, I need to be functional to this baby.
Correct.
Right? So we're talking about a compromise in health for the mother and the babies. And I think midwives will be able to tell you a lot more in detail about this. This is generally what I do know.
Okay.
But midwives who are really working closely with the placenta,
Uh-huh.
they will be able to give you real technical things about, okay, this is what's happening. This placenta is compromised. Then the flow of blood back and forth. This is why, if you have a doubt that the placenta is not really working well, that's why that color scan is done, because it will show you. The placenta is working properly, then the flow of blood through there are 2 arteries and 1 vein in the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
And that in and out flow will be correct.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if the baby is not doing well, also you can see this. So it's a very symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And like every nature-based relationship, if you begin really well, there's all good chances that it just, okay, now the road is clear. We're doing this good. I'm equipped. I have all the components I need. So early trimester nutrition is extremely important. Yeah. And if you're really nourished in that.
To you. Sorry.
Yeah, what? No,
Did you take folic acid, iron tablets, and supplements to while you were pregnant?
I actually did not. I took folic acid for the first. I think I took folic acid in the first month, and that's because one of my friends had gifted me this, and I knew that, and like she sent it all the way from. She'd gone abroad and she sent it from there, and so I started taking it. And then the more I researched on it, I didn't. I did not take iron tablets. I chose to take it through food. So the reason, on hindsight, the reason I'm really stressing on getting your body fit is because a few years before that, like I said before, my focus on natural health had already made me change my traditional or my junk ways in a way. Like, I was never a big junk eater, but I was not conscious about, okay, what does this food contain? How do I do this? So in the 5 years before I had conceived, I was doing detoxes on myself. I was cleansing my body. I had become adept at that. And it was after that I conceived. It's looking back that I can see how well that worked for me. So I know that these are very, very important components. Having a fit, healthy, clean, robust body, which has good metabolism, good circulation, inner awareness. All these are so important especially for pregnancy and birth.
When you say this, I've always been thinking about one thing, these IVF centers. Why so many women are not able to get pregnant even after going with an artificial insection is because your body is not really ready. So that's one thing that keeps coming to me. And today, unfortunately, there's so many IVF centers, and all the doctors are trying to make, unfortunately, more money to IVF.
Yeah. So there's several other. I would say IVF is one is the woman mentally and physically is not ready. Second, I don't think people have good sex. I think there's a big divide and a breakdown in communication between the masculine and feminine energies within the people themselves, in the couple. Third is, I think there's far too much pressure in the first year itself. Yeah, even before you become familiar with this person, people want you to have a baby with that person, from the man's side and from the woman's side. So when the pressure is to have a baby, then your body is going to freeze and shut down. Especially if the woman has gone through other, not so great experiences before. So I would say, wait for at least 3 years to have a baby. 2 years, I mean, that's a good thing. And some of the couples who I've seen who have done it, they would be like, we already announced beforehand. 1 month after, they'll announce to the family, we are going to wait. Don't ask any questions. So, even if it's uncomfortable, you have one conversation and you're done with it. But IVF, one of the reasons is really that the body may not be ready. Another thing is, the environmental factors. We are probably the first generation who grew up on industrialized agriculture food, on all of these invasive industrialized chemicals being a part of our daily life. Our cookware has changed. Look at the amount of personal care products that our generation uses, right? We're the first generation to have this much chemical interferences as part of normal daily life. So that will have an impact. the senior midwife at Birth Village, she does these Rebel Crone. Her Instagram handle is Rebel Crone. And in her preconception class that she offers at Birth Village, she really talks about this, Think of the chemicals that are going into your body. These are hormone disrupting chemicals, which means that the woman's hormones are out of whack. Right? So it's very important to fix your body. Make it a wonderful place for a new life to take hold. And that's when you actually you have so much, you have a lot of choices in that journey. That's really what I want women to remember. You have choices, you have control, you have power over the journey. Just get good information and do it well to the best of your ability. And that's all you can do. So do that much and leave the rest.
Exactly.
And nature will do the rest,
Beautifully said. So the next question is, what all things do you anticipate to have a natural birth?
Oh, that's the whole life on its own.
Quick example.
To have a natural birth. So natural birth means a birth with no interventions, a birth the way that nature meant, right? This is just to clear that that's what we're talking about. So that means that the mother will be birthing in the position of her choice, which impacts how she pushes and how the baby comes. She's moving in labor. She's eating and drinking when she's in labor. She is able to do all of these things. The first and foremost thing that would actually help you to have a natural birth is to find the care provider who believes in that natural birth. That I would say in this day and age, that is the most primary thing. Then you don't have to keep fighting all the way to the end.
True.
That itself is a huge relief for a mother.
Yes.
Negotiations, defense, you're always going. Recently, somebody said in a live only, like, it was always like I was going in for battle. Like I had to get my shield and sword out. That's how I go to. That's not a really good space to go and meet with your birth team. So first of all, if you can be with a person or with a care provider who has a philosophy that this kind of birth is the best. So find that would be the first and foremost thing. Second is make sure your body is healthy and you're having good exercise, good circulation, good metabolism, good nutrition, proper diet, no junk foods, not too much sugar. All those are detrimental to health. Whatever is detrimental to health, it's detrimental to a healthy pregnancy also. It's the same thing, right? Third, I would really say the exercising, like keeping fit, because labor can be long and taxing and challenging. So if your body is fit, it's like preparing for a marathon. You need to prepare for a marathon if you want to go all the way to the end. If you're just participating for first 10 minutes, me and my friends, we went and ran and, nice selfie, that's fine. But if you're really wanting a natural birth all the way to the end of it, you have to commit and prepare. And one thing is, I don't think women's bodies have the stamina by themselves. Like they be completely wiped out if you're not preparing your body. So what the workouts, what the fitness classes should be doing is creating muscle memory and stamina in your body. And that's really why those active mama classes, like the women who have been there at a later stage, if you talk to any of them, how they tell you how it's fun, how it builds your body, and how it helps you to go all the way to the end, till the finish line. That's one very important factor of a natural birth. Like, it's very challenging. Some labors can be very, very challenging. And some are not. But you don't know how yours is going to be till you're there. So you should prepare. Yeah. So for natural birth, I think these: honor the body, feed it well, be nourishing, don't fool around, prepare your body, and inside that inner place, right? Because already in society, we are so oppressed. The mind is already hijacked. The woman already thinks that I can't. Please just cut me open and take the baby. That's where a lot of women are going to.
Yeah.
That's because of how we are. So surround yourself with people who know about natural birth. Listen to people who are talking about this. Contact people who have had this. There is nothing as nourishing to a mother who wants natural birth as talking to a mother who has had a natural birth. right? So strengthen that inner. That will be a big component that's required. Yeah. You want to answer the question?
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah. If you're fit and maybe over 35, is that still a probability for natural birth? Absolutely. I know people who have had first births at 46. I know people who have had third birth at 46. Natural. I'm talking only about natural births. In Birth Village, there are many moms who have been 38, 39, 40, 41. So age is not the factor. How fit is your body is the point.
And your mind.
And I hope definitely body and the mind. Yeah.
Because there are women even at 21 years, they cut open and take a baby. And there are
Yeah.
women at 46 and 47 having a natural birth, the first birth. So I think it's with the mind, how you want to take it and how committed you are to have a natural birth.
Yeah. Good. So this is the thing, right? The young women, remember that we are in a system, especially then, this is especially for women, right? What I'm saying is specifically for women. We live in a system that's constantly cutting down the capacity and the power of a woman.
Yeah.
We are groomed like this right from when we are small children, right? Whenever this comes up, just tell yourself, it's not true. Just because you've heard it 10 times does not make it true. You will know what's good for you only if you hear it or if you try it. It is your job to do your own research. Always go back. What does the science say about it? What does the evidence say about it? What are the women who have done it saying? Not what did my family say? What did my auntie who always says negative things, what did she say? What does my uncle who is afraid of crossing the road on his own, what did he say? Those are not the people to get the source of information from. Right? You can figure it out. You look at the evidence, you talk for yourself, you find it out and you make your own choice.
The people who are watching the live, I would just want to add one point here. And she said that I just thought I should tell you this. So my mom's mom, around 50 years back, had a C-section. My mother was a C-section because she went in bleach. And my first question was, why did your mother not take you to a Maruthuvachi? So in those days, they were only Maruthuvachi. Now there is a proper training called midwifery. But those days it was Maruthuvachi. Why didn't she take you to the Maruthuvachi and get the breech baby done, So she said, no, I fell unconscious, and because it was a breech, they had to cut open and had to bring out the baby. The baby was big as well. She was like, she was a very big baby, 4.8 kg. That's what they say, no? They want to say the news that way. And for my mom, we were twins with periods. She had her periods till 6 months, along with pregnancy for me and my twin sister. So again, she couldn't wait till the 3 days. So it was becoming overwhelming for her. She had to take oil injections. A lot of the mother couldn't take it. And I was 3.5 kg. My sister was 2.8 kg.
Yeah.
Well-grown baby. So she couldn't go beyond that, and then she also went for the C-section. So my twin sister, the doctors nowadays, if you are not very particular about having a natural birth, and even if you are particular about having a natural birth, they take you to C-section. So she was like, I just want my baby out happy, healthy. That's all they think. They don't think that C-section babies are not healthy and as like what a natural baby would. So unfortunately, all these things were there. So for 3 generations, there were no natural births. And imagine my fight, how it would have been.
You did it, yeah. It took, see, that's another point. There is a determination and clarity and relentlessness when you're in a system like this, right? See, there's nothing wrong with a C-section if the mother is afraid. You can't force her to have a natural birth. But the right way to use that intervention is to use it when it is necessary. Because we know from data that there are a lot of benefits for the mother and the baby if you go as nature intended you physiologically, right? So therefore interfere only if you're needed. Just like, give your opinion only if you're needed. Same thing applies here. Don't have to jump in and interfere in somebody's journey. And interference, what is interference? Even injecting fear into somebody's mind is interference. Right? So But I'm really like, I really admire you for breaking the cycle
It's all
and
from
doing
there.
what somebody
It's
didn't.
all from there.
I don't think anyone's had a lotus birth in a hospital. I mean, I keep
Yeah.
telling people, you know what she did? She just did this, and you found a way around it.
Yes.
See, you were subversive enough, or intelligent enough to figure out that okay, this is equal to this means this. Okay, then I will participate here so that I can get my outcome, right? And you got the outcome, and I think that's just so amazing.
When I was pregnant, we were almost going and speaking to so many people. Yeah, Firefly actually, we will just answer your question in a moment. But at one point, looking at the pressure that I was taking, my father said, Anusha, we go to Kerala, we go to Kerala, we'll sort this out. Please don't take this much stress having the baby inside. My mom said, no, you stop. In Chennai, how will she not get something like this? You will get, come let us search. My mom was not ready to come to Kerala.
Yeah, yeah. But then, when you committed, see, that's another thing. Like your family was also there to support you, even though they were like, okay, I have this crazy daughter who really insists on this.
Yeah.
Even though they say that, what is the action saying? They're supporting.
Yes, they are supporting.
Right?
Very much.
But there are families who are like, no. So that's about, okay, that's about the kind of family that you have, which is actually very good, where they did not try to control you and overwhelm you with their decisions about your body. But we know that this is what happens to a lot of women, where you have a family who dictates to you what you should be doing with your body when you're giving birth.
Rivaji, here you know what I did? I actually silently spoke in my mind. Because if I'm going to say something to this, imagine 3 generations, there has been no natural birth. Okay? So I kind of spoke in my mind, calmed everyone inside my mind, and imagined a place where when I go and open this topic, people are going to simply accept what I say. After so much of hard work, when I went and opened up, they were like, what are you talking? And yeah, I had my own way of convincing them, and my husband was very, very, very supportive. I think he was the key there.
Yes.
Even the doctors haven't done anything. So it's only on what I say, everything happens. Seriously telling you
And see, it's just so beautiful to hear a woman saying that.
Yeah.
And what I want women to know is that what you did, right, it's not an aberration. It's your right to try and get your experience the way you want it. It's not to be seen as okay, this weird thing happened. No, it's about, okay, if I set my mind to it, I can formulate solutions. And this is what women should be taking back with them.
Yes.
That's what your story should be an example of. Not like, oh, there was this one person who did for this one thing and it was very admirable. See how can that person's action trickle down into your life journey,
Correct.
That's really why we are doing these things, right? I mean, now you realize it. You do the video, people talk to you, they say all these things back.
Anusha, I think you should do a video and do it as soon as possible, because after 2 weeks, your brain just forgets whatever happened. It's now fresh. So just record everything at least as an audio and then do it a video. So Sangeeta was pushing me.
Right.
When I texted Sangeeta, I took 2 days for her to come back. She was very busy and all that. And she was like, what? You did lotus birth in a hospital? That was the reaction.
We'll have to tell them the loophole that you found. You have to tell again in this video.
Which one?
But you have a question about it, so maybe you're waiting to address that.
Address the question? No. Okay, yeah. So Firefly Rhapsody, Archana. I remember her name. Archana, I'm going to do a series on natural pregnancy and natural birthing and what all complications women are having nowadays. Women are having. Maybe if Niba could join there, because she's also a nutritionist and she loves about health. So health and women go hand in hand, and let's try to see if we can do another live with Niba on that.
Yeah.
I think we have only 10 minutes left, so we'll go ahead with the questions at least. If we will have
so the answer to Firefly's question is yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
You can fix your body and have a good birth. Yeah. And how then Anusha's series will help you with how. Yeah.
I think I still hear the echo. A lot of people did say that there is still echo. I don't know how. So this is the case where we are going to say, I don't know if Pramit and Divya are there. Can a premature baby have lotus birth?
More than all the other babies, premature baby definitely should have a lotus birth. Or like if you're saying delayed cord clamping. Like there's this big difference between delaying the cord clamping and the lotus birth itself. So when you're saying delayed cord clamping, you're waiting till the placenta finishes doing all its job. And in a umbilical cord that's still functioning, it's round like this. It'll be round. And when it's finished, it'll go flat. You have to wait for this to go flat and then you cut the cord, right? A lot of hospitals may not allow the lotus birth all the way to it, but in a hospital, it is every parent's right to ask for and even demand delayed cord clamping because this is part of good evidence-based practice all over the world already. And especially if your baby is premature, there should 100% be delayed cord clamping. Because what are we doing at the time? Why are we delaying the cord clamping? Because this placenta still holds almost 2/3 of oxygen-rich blood that's supposed to go to the newborn baby. Because remember, baby has not learned how to breathe through the nose. When it's out, it needs oxygen. Who's going to give that oxygen? The little mother. The little mother is still attached. That's how nature has designed it to be. The little mother still continues and you get that oxygen. That's the baby who needs that. So it's very, very important to delay cord clamping 100%. And then the lotus birth is not really about just the functionality of it. It's towards more spiritual and personal reasons, right? So yeah, you can ask for a whole lotus birth, but you have to demand delayed cord clamping.
Yeah, so when this comes, can delayed cord clamping, what does it exactly mean? Till the placenta delivers naturally by itself and then you go and clamp the cord, or once it stops pulsating, you just clamp the cord?
So delayed cord clamping is when the baby comes out in labor, after the labor, and then the birth, the mother pushes, the baby comes out. There is a time when the umbilical cord is still going in through the mother's vagina and inside. And in a little while, the uterus, this detaches from the uterus on its own and then comes down. Okay? So at that point of time, the placenta and the baby are still attached to each other. Yeah? At this point of time, the placenta is still working. So you're not touching the cord, you're not doing anything. You're allowing this functionality to go all the way to the end of the process. When it is the end, when the process has ended, you will see that then the cord will become flat. At that point of time, that's the ideal time to now you clamp the cord. Till then, no clamping is done and then no cutting is done. So if you are in a place that says we cannot just wait indefinitely, because actually each baby, depending on how the baby is doing, this continues to function. It's very interesting. Babies who have more stress and all that, this continues to nourish them.
Wow.
Right? So it's a very functional symbiotic relationship. So this is the thing, even if you are in a place where they say, oh, do you expect us to wait for n number of minutes? Then say, no, I want 5. If they want definition, give them a definition. Because in those initial 3 to 5 to 10 minutes, a lot of it would already have been done. So if they're asking for definition, ask for 5 minutes or ask for 10 minutes.
Okay.
But technically speaking, if they're willing to wait, you wait all the way till the cord becomes flat.
So there have been cases where there is a thing called retained placenta. Would you like to discuss about that? Complications of placenta.
So retained placenta is when a placenta in the natural processes, this once the baby is out, and also remember the baby is also pulling, and the uterus has also come down. In labor, the uterus does not stay static like that. It keeps coming down, it moves, everything is organically shifting and moving. So retained placenta is when you don't, either the whole thing or maybe parts of it are still stuck onto the wall of the uterus. It's not coming out. It is a problem because if it stays there, now it is no longer functional. It will start to decay or it will stop. Yeah. And then you can have an infection from it. In the olden times, women would die from it. So it is definitely a problem. So one thing is, this is where we should be doing our research, is in a natural birth, in a vertical position, in a healthy mother, does the retained placenta happens, or is it happening more in medicalized settings when the mother is lying down? When the cord is clamped before the placenta is also coming out. I've always felt that this could be a big reason to interfere in the whole communication process, because the body is still talking to each other, right?
Correct.
So suppose the baby comes out, and before the placenta comes out, if you're going to clamp or if you're going to separate the baby, then this one is completely confused.
Oh.
And the little mother is like, okay, now what?
What
How
do
should I do it? Yeah, what's next?
Beautiful.
Because that's been an interference there. So retained placenta is definitely a serious thing. You have to go in, you have to take the placenta out, you have to make sure it's not staying there. So interesting things to search for is, does it happen? Which kind of cases? What is causing it? But regardless of all this, be with a care provider who is supporting evidence-based good birth. So you're vertical, you're birthing with gravity, and also who knows to gauge, is the placenta still in there? Assess the bleeding very closely. All these are really good for healthy women in midwifery setting. Because midwife has time. The midwife has been with you. She's going to wait. She checks your tummy. She massages your belly. She sees if you're bleeding. She sees if it's continuing. She'll wait. She'll be looking at the clock. It's constantly she's assessing, monitoring. She's paying personalized attention to that one mother.
True.
That is always the best care, whether it's a retained placenta or it was a completely, it was a non-complicated postpartum also. Doesn't matter really, because you have an expert right there with you.
Correct.
So these are my thoughts on retained placenta. Is it our interference that's increasing it?
True.
Are we creating miscommunication?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great thing.
But this also a good midwife, if you talk to a senior midwife and a seasoned midwife, they will be able to give you more accurate details on, because these are all clinical things that happen.
Yeah. So one of the don't in a lotus birth is, if there is a retained placenta, then you have to think if lotus birthing is possible or not, isn't it?
Yeah.
You may have to,
because lotus birthing technically cannot be possible if
Possible.
the placenta is
How long, in your opinion or in your experience, can the placenta be inside the mother?
That will depend on the individual case. You mean like a retained thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the retained thing. The safety of a retained placenta.
See, that would depend. It all depends on the combination of factors at that birth. Because some mothers, the placenta comes out. So the retained placenta you're talking about when it's a dysfunctional thing happening.
Okay.
That is
But
a
that you will
dysfunction.
know only during
A
birth.
placenta. So the other side, to answer your question is, a placenta who takes its own time is kind of different from a retained placenta.
Okay.
So depending on each woman's body and what is happening there and how her hormones are flowing, for some women the placenta may come, in another 45 seconds the placenta also comes after the baby. For some women it may take 3 minutes, for some it may take 5 minutes, for some it may take 15 minutes, for some it may take 20 minutes. And how do you assess that? That's really on the care provider, because they are looking at, mother's doing okay, this is fine, we can wait. Or they see a yellow flag and they say, no, this is not looking so good. Maybe we should actually try. And then there is a sequence of things that they can try to do to make sure that the placenta also detaches from the uterus. Then when you do all of that and still the placenta doesn't come, that's when you know, now this is a retained placenta. There's a difference from a delay in the placenta coming out. That's what I've understood.
They're not coming out at all.
Yes. Or placenta coming out, but small parts of it are still inside. That is also partially that retained placenta thing.
Okay.
That also happens.
I think we may end the live. Will we get a box or something if we are going to end the live?
Yeah, 30 seconds you'll get.
Okay. I've not got that still, so yeah. Okay, what had been the traditional practice of olden midwife on birth and placenta?
Oh my God, this is amazing topic. If you go to Matrika, Delhi, Matrika's website, they have worked so extensively with the old traditional midwives. So traditional midwives, they have so much skill and information. And they also, when you say traditional, they're honoring the deeper traditions of the land and the community and the spiritual practices. So it's a beautiful combination. So I have heard from Janet's work. Janet Chawla is the one who started Matrika. From her work, I have heard and read her narratives of how traditional midwives used to have techniques to even revive a non-responsive baby by working on the placenta, either by using heat, by using cold, by massage techniques. So that whole thing of this being the little mother, again, it's reinforced, you know. It's such a profound and important organ, and it has so much impact on that baby. And traditional midwives have all kinds of, they used to have a lot of skill. They also used to have herbalism. We don't have this data anymore. We have to go and find out from them. So, you know, delay in placenta being expelled. I'm sure they would have a herb or some kashaya, something where you drink it and then that helps it. Because we know that this exists in homeopathy. We know that these exist in other herbal and nature-based remedies. So, of course, I would absolutely be sure that traditional midwives would have it, you know. So, traditional midwives, their knowledge, their skill, we have to do everything we can to retain it. I don't think we can sustain them because we are not able to give them economic support and whatever. I mean, it would be a dream if we could have birth centers and learn from them, incorporate them into it. But when skilled midwifery itself is struggling so much, you know, it needs more of a bigger umbrella. Somebody has to take an interest. Somebody has to support, put in money, put in hard work. I mean, there's enough of us to do the work, but, you know, somebody has to put in the money. There has to be political will. There has to be moral will. There has to be that input. And I think more mothers should be asking for midwifery.
My point. I think we are just connected, G. When I want to ask you a question, you're already answering it. Seriously,
Vibes.
this is the third time. I want to ask a question and you're like, ta-da, this is the answer. Take it. Yeah. So one more point I just wanted to say here was the same point that you mentioned, you know, by tapping the placenta. So I had gone to Ayurvedic doctor, Dr. Girija Sanjeevani in Chennai. So she was having a in-house, birthplace, as well as her where inpatient and outpatient could come and be there. She was actually running a midwifery center, but with Marutvachis, not with midwives, like educated midwives. So there, in her book, I read this chapter where midwives, you know, in her own place where, 30 seconds remaining, where they used to tap the placenta, put it in the warm water, and then twin babies, they came back to life. Like within the next half an hour, the baby became even blue. But after they did the warm water and the massaging and all that, it came back to life and it started, you know, crying vigorously, actively kicking the legs. And what would it be a sight, no, for the mother? Lifeless. Everybody is just seeing what is happening.
See, that's the
We are continuing. Part 2. I know that we can't finish all this in one live, Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Magic of life is where it got stopped.
Yeah, from that thing that you were saying, no? Like non-responsive babies, you work with the placenta, you know, they start to respond. And that's the reminder that, you know, whether it is life or death, there is that element X that you cannot control or define. You really get to witness that, no? So who do you want there? Somebody who actually respects element X, who knows how to be with that element X, you know. And I think our old midwives, the Marutvachis, they used to know that. There was an acceptance about life and death and nature and the bigger scope of things. And this is what I'm very inspired by the midwives also. Like they have an understanding of their limitations. This is why they always try to do collaborative care where they are not able to, when they need help, they're always open to asking for the help. Unfortunately, the system is not very open and collaborative. But in the interest of the mother and baby, how should we have a system? That is up to us mothers to figure it out, to ask for it, to create those spaces where we can have good midwifery. We can have also Marutvachis. I mean, you know, if that is a mother's wish, of course, we live in a land like India. And I believe midwives have a lot of traditional midwives and the modern skilled midwives. Both of them have so much to offer. And all that we hear about them is from that one-sided perspective.
Yeah.
Which is not even correct. And
it
we women are the ones who can change that.
It was very difficult when I had to, when all we had was one place in Kerala that could give me what I wanted. that was actually the fight what I had. Why can every woman go from here to Kerala? You know, see, if you actually look at the costing as well, how many people can really afford these kind of? And I have to say that when I compare it with other midwifery, Birth Village was way far affordable than the others. There is no second thought about it. But
Yeah.
coming from one place to the other, carrying the baby back was the only constraint that I had in mind. We had to take a flight. So, and COVID had started in Kerala. That was the biggest point when I
Yeah.
started. They closed all the gates. Nobody was allowed in and outside Kerala. So, too many complications were there. So, if I had done at that point in Kerala, it would have been a big zero. I would have had to come back to a doctor and done a normal birth. So, I thank God there who guided me to see a doctor who can do a lotus birthing in a hospital. So,
Yeah.
then it happened.
But that was about you figuring out the loophole. And I really love the loophole that you found.
See, one thing is, you know what the doctors actually told me? Though they were ready to do a lotus birth, nobody had even gone to them and asked if you would do one. And I was really surprised. Like, there is so much of gaga going around in Chennai and in Tamil Nadu about doing a lotus birth. And then I was surprised, why don't people go and ask? So, if you don't ask, you don't get it. As simple as that. And the doctors,
Every mother should be writing this down. If you don't try, you won't get it. If you don't ask, you won't get it. If you don't
don't
think, you
have
won't
your
get
own
it.
perceptions that the doctor is going to say no to what I asked. To ask and then say if she's going to be okay with it or not. So I had a point that I shouldn't vaccinate my child, okay? At least in the first few days of her life. So I told her, when the placenta is there, please don't vaccinate. My doctor was like, there is no connection between the two, but anyways, you don't want, okay, I don't do it. And that give and take was there. And only when I was comfortable, I said, okay, let me go ahead with this. I was very comfortable with the pediatrician more than my gynec. So I was like, okay, if I get the baby done and the lotus birthing done, I'm just going to forget about her. Concentrate on the pediatrician and go ahead. Because this is something that nobody had done before. So the family had no belief in this. None of them had no belief about this, including the
Right.
doctors. So it was very difficult journey, but it went very smooth with the grace of God and with a very, very strong and powerful mind. I should only thank God again for giving such great power.
But
It
you
would have
did
been
your
very-
part. That's the
Yes.
point. If
So
we
much
don't
of
do our
research,
part, then God
so
cannot
much
do the
of
rest of
research.
it.
Yes, yes. Talking to you, talking to Sangeeta, talking to Priyanka, and so much of research was there. Just like how you had done your research, I also saw how many people had done it. What if we could do it at home? What are the complications that can come? Seriously, after talking to you, I'm getting at least maybe 50% of the complications that can happen. If I talk to a senior midwife, like how you mentioned, then nobody would have the guts to do it at home. But when you did you have any midwife or anybody to support you at home? Just you and your
No.
husband?
I couldn't find one. I
Gut
searched.
call?
Yeah. I searched a lot, but I couldn't find one. And now, on hindsight, I know why. Because I was meant to have that experience, and it was very unique and powerful for me. But it was not because I didn't try. I searched high and low. Ayurvedic hospital. Ayurvedic hospital people told me that they had stopped taking births there because nobody was coming.
Oh, that's a sad story.
Yeah.
Here they shut down because the government said you cannot run any more of natural births. It has to be with equipments and only with a doctor setting.
See, is
No
that
more.
not unconstitutional?
No, they just
If
want
you
to
can
make money.
accept Ayurveda as a stream of medicine or healthcare, why would you not allow that entire stream of healthcare to operate in its own autonomy? Why will you let it go only from A to so and this part, and then after that you have to incorporate the other thing? I mean, that does not make sense to me. Either you say this is valid or you say this is not valid. What is this half and half? I don't get it.
The next question. We are coming very close to the next question. Your opinion of calling placenta a biological way?
Oh my God. Think of it. I, like, in Malayalam, like if you say, when I heard that term called little mother, എനിക്ക് രോമാഞ്ചം വന്നാണ്, like, I got goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
And to a person like that, if you actually say biological waste, it's very disturbing on one part. It is extremely, I feel, very sad. I feel very this sense of injustice. That's something that my body nourished and created for my baby with my baby's input. So the initial inputs are from the cells of that embryo, right? It's the only organ that your body, that you are not born with. Think of it. You're going to make, and mothers who have 3 and 4 and 5 babies, each time you make a new organ. Just think of that. Your body makes a whole organ that acts like a mini processing unit and does a million different functionalities, executes those for nourishing this baby for 10 months. Who in their right minds could even use a term biological waste for placenta? Right? I understand that in science and the technology, they just want to put it into categories. I understand. But why not just call it a placenta?
You know, this is the doctor who has studied about placenta, who are saying that it's a biological waste. It's not only the science that is saying. It's the doctors day in and day out who see birth. Birth is something which is so spiritual. Even if that, I mean, if that's going to be a job, I think you're really doing a worship there. There is no second word to it. When someone is worshipping their job and it's something like a birth, which you see day in and day out, I think that's of the highest cadre. And you as a person, you are like the priest, there, the bishop. You can't say something like this terminology, the biological waste. So when I went to 9 doctors, almost 7 of them said it's a biological waste. And it really shook me hard.
Yeah. That really is a glimpse of how the system works, Because they are saying biological waste because that is the categorization of any, bodily fluids, you're hemorrhaging, blood clots, if you have a hand amputated, right? In whichever area of the healthcare system that you're encountering it, yes, technically it is a biological thing that's going to go into the waste. So I can understand where they're saying the term. But that observation itself is a challenge to us. How do we see birth? How do we approach birth? And to what level is the educational system desensitizing a healthcare provider?
Yes.
Right? Because they are not able to see that, there is a reason for which a mother wants to keep the placenta, wants to have a lotus birth. I mean, why would they need to argue with you as if why are you hanging on to biological waste? That's basically what they're telling, right?
Exactly.
That's your business. First of all, that's your business. So it's almost like, this is my biological waste that my body made. I want it. Right?
Yeah.
I want it to be attached to my baby till that process is actually complete. That's basically what you're saying. But that terminology, in categorization, that's correct. My logical brain understands why. But my mother mind really resists that terminology for a placenta. Because if I had to amputate my little finger, that is biological waste, okay? But a placenta is different. Placenta is something else. It's something more. It's something, it has had its own life.
Correct.
It has originated inside my womb. It has, the mechanics around it were so different that it makes me sad. So I understand why it's called biological waste, but it makes me very sad. And I think we have reached a time where we are emotionally evolved enough, we are intellectually evolved enough, and we are verbally evolved enough to change the categorization to honor what they represent. I think we can, we're capable of it. But again, it depends, you have to change the system, and it starts from the roots. The roots of the change lie in another area. So yeah, I understand why they're calling it that way, but I don't like it. What do you feel? I want to hear what you feel when you heard that. What did it make you feel like?
It's like, having known the functions of what a placenta does to the baby, and what it does to the mother. Like, I didn't know that mother also gets affected with the placenta if it doesn't function properly. I think calling it as a biological waste, you shouldn't say to a person, at least who is coming to ask for a lotus birth. Leave alone the fact that how you're going to treat it post. But when a person comes to you asking for a lotus birth in a spiritual angle, you shouldn't say your spiritual thoughts are going to a waste. You shouldn't mention it in that is what I thought. Yeah, but doctors are doctors. You cannot expect them to be midwives. This is what
I think we should start expecting doctors to be nicer because they are capable. There are a lot of good doctors. It's just that they go through a system that actually gives them this jargon and then you get used to using. Like we all have that. You know, there are words that we use more than other words, even though we know that those phrases actually express things better. It's just a conditioning of the mind, you know. And maybe we should very lovingly begin to expect doctors to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, that gives them a chance to evolve then. Like, I would love to have a doctor friend who is evolving in her journey or his journey, just like I am evolving in my journey. That makes me trust them more. That makes me respect them more. Right? And I'm sure there are many in the profession who want to do that. But the structures of it itself keep them very blocked. But I hope that somebody who watches this actually, you know, yeah, a wave of change among the doctor fraternity would be like the best thing. It's something
it is going to come. Certainly it is going to come, Rivaji. Certainly it is going to happen. Because what I see is there are more and more people who want to do this the more natural way. It is going to come. The circle is almost coming to an end very soon. People are not trying to understand. Now, see, the word organic has become like part and parcel of everything. So people are researching more and they are using the internet at the maximum, getting benefited through their researches. And this is going to come back, and there is no second thought about it. If I am able to do, I'm pretty sure people who are on the lookout for good health, happiness, hygiene, and you know, something different, and why certain things are not the way it is, then they are surely going to end up in this circle. And they are going to bring a shift in how birthing is going to happen. They are going to question the doctors. Why certain things are done this way. See, I also feel that, you know, because of internet now, a lot of women start reading about certain things. They don't take proper childbirth education classes and they go and expect the doctors to tell them what it is.
Yeah, very good.
They actually don't have a time for that. That is where they are losing patience with the customer, with patients who are coming, with the pregnant women who are coming. So please, women who are watching this, do not, hi Priyanka ji! So people, women who are pregnant, please don't expect your doctor to completely tell you what is what, or what you should be doing, what you should not be doing, and all those stuff. You have to discuss your birth plan, not what is birth. So there are good people like Rivaji, Sangeeta-ji, and there are a lot of other people. Do your search. Don't just go by what others say. Do your own search and get convinced where you have to take your childbirth classes. Do your childbirth education. Then see what feels right to you. And I feel a mother has her instincts. Trust your institution and instincts. That is going to give you the best of the results. Then
100%.
do a birth plan. Do a birth plan. Discuss that with your care provider. Not go and ask them what you should be doing with your problems. If you have any specific conditions, then share that with your doctor. That is fine. But when we go in kind of, you know, ask them what needs to be done, what is this, what is that, that is when they are really losing their temper. And that is what they thought one of me as well. Like how their normal patients used to come. That's how my doctors, whom I went, thought me as well. Oh, this girl has studied something new, she's coming. One doctor went to the extent like, she asked my mom, won't you tell your daughter that all these you shouldn't be doing and experimenting with your daughter, experimenting with your kid? You have to go in the strict way. If it is 40 weeks and I will not even wait for 1 hour, I will immediately give you an injection and start, getting into labor, pushing you into labor. That was what she said. That's how doctors are.
So for the birth plan, to formulate your birth plan, you need good childbirth education classes. Now everybody is offering them online. Birth Village has the classes online. We have regular batches. Or, you know, you do your research, go to a class. Again, this is another big point what you raised, because, you know, we've had several lives about, give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So figure out who you want to learn from. You know, it's about who's going to give you the pure, unadulterated truth. Go with them. Because there's a lot of matter of factness. You have to understand a lot of things. It's going to deconstruct a lot of things that you assumed about the process, right? So go to a good class. That will help you make your birth plan. Be armed with your birth plan and go to the doctor. That's a very good process that you actually talked about.
And the moment you go to a childbirth class, you'll be so amazed what your body can do. Isn't that great? It creates a life. And I think that was the most high moment for me,
Yeah.
knowing about what your body can do and your body knows how to push it out. And when you compare yourself with animals, yeah, our lifestyles have changed far away from what animals have. But, we can always go back. That's what I feel.
Yes.
There is nothing like.
I mean, just going back to the center of that woman's body. You know, if you can give her that capacity, if you're empowered, then you know how to make a choice.
True.
It is when you're lost and confused that you're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And it is, now we are in a situation, in this system, where it is our job to get empowered. Don't look for a savior outside you. That is not going to really happen. But the good thing about India, like you said, when you had the commitment, you did not know where you're going to go and finally do it. But what did you do? You called, you asked. And I remember when you called and you were like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be bothering you with this. And I was like, no, because if a mother is persistent, she gets what she's looking for. So don't be apologetic about your persistence. That's what I want to tell women. Like you said before, if you don't ask the doctor, you won't know what you can get. If you don't make that phone call, you don't know what you're going to learn. You know?
My concern was because, see, a person like you had like 3 or 4 days with laboring women, and then you come back to your family, and that few minutes with your family, I was, engulfing with 1.5 hour phone call. That was what I was a little apologetic with.
Yeah, but that's the thing about birth workers, whether it's Priyanka or Sangeeta or me or whatever, if a woman calls, that goes to the top of the pile. And especially with Priyanka and Donna and the clinical team, the amount of work the amount of, how much they put aside their personal thing, it's just, this is why it's a calling. It's not really a career, it's a calling.
Yes. So when looking at the amount of interest I had in knowing about this and all that, my husband was like, Anusha, next become a midwife. That is the only thing that is preventing me, because I know how much of attention, care, and how much you have to be away from your family. You cannot have commitments of your own. It's a huge, difficult task to be a birth worker. And I said, no, I think this is one exception that I'm going to have from the amount of interest I had.
Yeah.
It's really going to be a very difficult profession. And just by looking at few people, I said no. Though it seems very, very inviting and
it's not for everybody.
Job satisfaction.
Yeah.
It's not a job. I wouldn't call it a job. It's more a personal connection and nature's gift for people who are there. And today being Teachers' Day, I would like to wish my teacher Reba here for igniting my thoughts with Lotus Birth, and all the teachers who have been with me. My ton of thanks to you, and my humble pranams to my teacher Vishakha for guiding me. There has been so many people who have guided me.
Polly?
Like Avaduta Gita says, even an ant, you can learn lessons from a spider, an ant, and everything around you. So I would like to dedicate this video, this live session, and thank the grace of God. We have kind of answered all the questions from people who have come. Yeah, somebody has been calling you all this.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
I actually learned. It's something that nobody could actually think. So with the biological waste thing, I think we need to say, what is the loophole that you found? So what the doctor told Anusha is that it's biological waste, it has to be disposed. We cannot let you go home with it. And what did Anusha say? She said, okay, I won't go home. I will stay in the hospital till the lotus birthing is done. I mean, who would have thought that such a creative, beautiful, perfect solution is all that is needed? Okay, so yeah, you're paying more room rent, but you're getting what you're working for.
No, that was one doctor. Finally, I did what I wanted. I came home the next day with the baby and the placenta. I took her home. That was one doctor. I didn't go her with that.
Oh, I didn't hear this bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So she said you can the placenta might fall within the next 10 days. So she said probably you take that choice. Be in the hospital after the placenta falls off. You can give it to us and then you can go home. I didn't take that route. I did a Pakka lotus birth. The placenta is with me here in the house. I have planted it with they say Parijata tree. So it's with me here. So I went to another doctor. So she told me that, yeah, I can take whatever I want. She just wanted me to sign an agreement. And then I said, okay, take it. All I wanted was a lotus birth. Whatever you say, I'm going to say yes. Just give me the baby and the placenta. So I took her. And the fifth day,
how many doctors was that? How many doctors did you go to do that? No.
Okay.
Throughout,
yeah. So on a rough thing, I think 20 to 25, I would have spoken over phone. And 9 doctor appointments was the person in.
That's the whole point. This is what I want women to hear. It's hard. She's spoken to around 20 to 25 doctors to try and figure out her entire birth. And that is determination, Anusha.
When I was 8 months pregnant.
See?
They're like, whom are you going to, who is your care provider? Have you decided? Why are you not telling us anything? And I told her, look, by December 15th, you will get the answer. And she was like, what is that special magical date, December 15th? On December 15th, I had still not decided. So on December 16th, I said, give me just one day. We are on the verge of finalizing our doctor. So once everything is done, we kind of said, I was actually thinking my in-laws wouldn't say okay for a lotus birth. It was so surprising. My mother-in-law said, yeah, I was born in the home only. Marutwachi only came and did my birth. I'm a healthy child. I think it's okay. And I was like, wow. See, that's how nature works. You get what you want. You be in that vibration. That's all. That's my personal experience of how things can happen to you in the right positive way. It's just your attitude. Completely your attitude.
Yes.
Meditate on this. You will surely get it.
And that work that you put in.
Yes. That is always.
And the fact that you were healthy. That you did not have complications with your placenta. And you had a
huge first fact.
Yeah. All of these together, when we are living in a system that makes it seem like these are very insurmountable. Oh, that and this and this. No, this is a combination of factors that is very possible for a woman. You can eat on time, you can exercise, you can do well, you can focus. It may require you to throw away the other useless things that are taking your time.
What is life? If you're not able to live life to the fullest energy, capability, and push your limits to the maximum, then what is life? Just giving up easily. To me, I can't give up anything easily.
Yeah. I completely resonate with that. I hear you. That's the juice in life. I'm thinking about this because this is also what is pushing us to evolve. We're the same old, then there is nothing to move toward. There is nothing to learn. There's nothing new, right? These are the opportunities that push us to grow. That is life, that growth. Yeah.
Do you want to say 4 points to conclude this session on lotus birthing? Because this is one this one largest video of small 7-part lotus birthing video series that we are doing. So 4 things you want to say. Women who are wanting to get pregnant, women who are pregnant, women who are about to deliver their baby, 4 things.
So I would say the placenta is extremely important. And for all the reasons that we mentioned right now, make sure, demand delayed cord clamping. Delayed cord clamping has effects all the way. It affects the baby, that child till the age of 5, which is the point at which we have gotten data so far and studies are ongoing. We have seen conclusively that those children their cognition is better, their motor neuron skills are better, their immunity is better. Everything is better because when that baby just came onto the planet, oxygen was not compromised to their body, and the baby was not subjected to immense stress of being separated forcibly from the little mother. The little mother is what the baby knew. They were still attached. That bubble is huge for the baby, not just when they're children, but all the way to adulthood. So if you want to make a new generation of robust, better people, this is another thing that is coming up in some of the studies is children who have had delayed cord clamping are actually more coherent, like they don't develop aggression so quickly. They display signs of sensitivity more. So imagine if your child is coming onto the planet and if you're not making them feel attacked, then that visceral response is not going to be native to them as a child who is completely traumatized and handled and manhandled and dealt with and oxygen compromised and body struggling to breathe, right? So one thing is, we know of the importance of the placenta. Demand your delayed cord clamping. And you will have hundreds of studies that you can take to any doctor to show them why it is necessary. That's one thing. Second thing, a lotus birth. I love the cocoon it gives you on the first few days. Everything is a little, I want to hear how it was for you, but in my case, everything was a little more hushed. When the placenta was still there, there was a different kind of a feeling around it. Also because it was only me, the both of us, so, there wasn't other children to play around and not much of a fuss. The reason that midwives like lotus birthing is if the placenta is still there, a lot of people won't come and want to take the baby and carry it and be invasive. Okay, Donna always says this. Yeah, choose lotus birthing. Maybe clinically it's not required, but it gives you that window of space. It gives you that time. So that's a good, you can also opt for lotus birthing if you want to gently ease in that first few days, to gently and peacefully ease in. I found that in my experience, it was actually helpful. Third thing is, I like the sacredness of it. So if you're a person who likes it, like you said, my daughter's placenta is buried under the old chiku tree in our house. And when I look back on it, there's that element of us which is a little more emotional and spiritual. That part of me feels satisfied. So if you are a person who has that kind of a tendency, yeah, definitely explore it. Fourth is, this is one thing, I don't want to romanticize the lotus birth, and because it's the traditional way of doing it. See, the traditions of doing it also has impact with pioneering communities. That's what I have found. So communities that used to travel to new places, they seem to have practiced lotus birth more, because that way you reduce infection.
Oh, okay.
And you increase robustness to the baby, because now you're not cutting anything, you're not separating anything, right? So the lotus birthing itself may have special reasons. We are living in a time where we don't have to follow blood. Okay, traditionally it was like that. Now I don't actually want women to even go down that route. I want you to think about, why do I want it? Is it delayed cord clamping that I want, or is it lotus birth that I want?
Mm-hmm.
Think about all of this and embrace your choice. Because somebody telling you that, in our olden days, all you need is a martwachi, all you need is this, you don't have to worry about this part, you don't have to worry, you're a woman. Because I have seen women who are malnourished who come from local healer backgrounds. They're following a healer or a native practitioner who is not understanding what is a woman's health. Usually those are men.
Correct,
right?
correct.
And again, this woman is giving in because the tradition is put onto her, like patriarchy is put onto her. So that tradition is actually not helping this woman. Again, she is not having a voice in it. So when we're talking about lotus birth, I want that also to be clear. This is come back to the center. So it's not about just following the tradition. You examine that tradition. Does it apply to me? Does it make sense to me? Do I want to embrace it? Then if my answer is yes, how do I do it? Or if all I'm concerned about is actually this very practical need to delay the cord clamping, that's what I want, That's what you choose. Any time, no? The time when we blindly follow anything, that's when we kill the goodness of it. When we are blindly following modern technology, we are killing the goodness that it holds because now it's become a routine.
Absolutely.
When we are blindly following tradition, we are killing the goodness of it because we are not understanding the meanings within it.
Beautifully said.
So that I really want women to understand that, and families to understand that. Because there was always functionality in tradition. We cannot eliminate the functionality and expect that tradition to be good for us. Yeah, I did the 4 points. 4 are done, no?
Yeah, superb. Very well put. So one thing which I would like to reinforce by saying and finishing this video is that women will have to start making conscious decisions about their pregnancy, how they want to get pregnant, when they want to get pregnant, and how they want to deliver their baby, how they want to birth their baby rather than you don't deliver your baby, you birth your baby. So make a conscious decision, try to understand your body, try to understand the capability of what it can do to your and your baby, which is starting its life. Your life, okay, somewhere it has gone, somehow it has come, and you're trying to repair it. But a baby is going to start its life new. You don't want to damage any of it. You want to keep it very organic. So that was my thought. You know, my journey had happened in a way, and you know, it's having its own positives and negatives. So I'm trying to rectify whatever had happened to me. But I want my baby to begin lovely, to begin a life without any complications, so that we don't have to completely concentrate in the health aspect.
Yes.
You can concentrate in much
Let's
more
not break
better.
it.
Yes.
Because for us, it was broken and we're trying to fix it now.
Yeah.
But when you have a chance to, okay, it's all working perfectly. Let me not break it and then put the burden of fixing it again. Why not just go with the already perfect version?
Perfect. Yes, that was my thought.
Yeah.
Why
And the thing for women is like, it just sparked when you were saying that sentence, right? What women don't understand is that each woman, no, we are actually much, 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 much more powerful than even we think we are. And that power gets more stronger and solid when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Use the pregnancy to access your power, to make it better for the baby. That way you make it better for you. It's this amazing window of time that you get. We are much, much more powerful than even in our wildest dreams. But like you said, if you ask only, you will start getting the answer. If you seek only, you start to find. If you knock only, then the door will be opened.
Yes.
If you're just standing there and thinking somebody should open this door for me, that's not going to happen. I'm so glad I got to meet you, you know.
No,
You reminded me of so many powerful lessons.
Even when we spoke, you know, over a call, I don't remember connecting this much with you, G. There was a connection, but it was because I was in a very clouded mind that time. I couldn't connect this much with you, but this life was like, I'm talking to a very familiar person, like 10 years I know her.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining. And
it was my pleasure.
On notice birthing and the complications that it can. But all said and done, your mind is going to lead into complications or healthy. Again, your mind plays a vital role in that as well. So for women who are watching this, who are having any complications with your placenta at the moment, just empower your mind. That is going to empower your body and the placenta and the baby. So
yes.
We are coming to a end of this session. Thank you so much again, Rebaji. Hopefully, if nature wants and if there is a requirement from all our followers, let's do another live on health, on fertility, on other topics that you have been posting on your social media as well, on your interesting topics as well.
Yeah.
See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Yes.
All power to you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.